Today I am out here in the cold testing out this new Backfire G2S. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things, and we got another electric skateboard on the chopping block today. This is the Backfire G2S. I opened this board in a mail time video a couple of weeks ago, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link for it up in the corner. And right from when I first opened this board, I was kind of excited because the quality and everything about this board seems pretty top-notch. First of all, the form factor, it is very similar to the Boosted board, which is one of my all-time favorite electric skateboards, as many other people as well. I did notice though that it does seem a little bit lighter. I believe the actual weight on this is about a little over 14 pounds. That feeling could be just because I have not ridden my Boosted in a long time, but yeah, this thing feels pretty good, and although it's not super small, it definitely seems light enough that I could pick it up and take it with me wherever I go. Now, as far as the specs go, there were some specs listed out on the side of the box when this thing came, but I noticed that they are kind of high compared to what I think this board would actually do. So I went and pulled up their website on my phone, and it seems like they have some more accurate specs on here. The G2S is obviously a dual hub motor board, and it has 80mm wheels all around. One thing that I did notice about the wheels is that the front seem like normal skateboard wheels. They kind of have like that soft matte type of texture to them, but the urethane that is wrapped around the hub motors in the back has sort of this shiny type of coating on there. I believe that has something to do with the manufacturing process. Obviously, you're not going to have the exact same wheels as the front and the rear. So I'm thinking once I start rolling around on this thing that these will kind of roughen up a little bit and get rid of that super smooth, slick texture. They chose to use caliber 2 50-degree trucks on these, which is a nice touch. When comparing to some other Chinese boards, a lot of them just use normal longboard type of trucks, kind of generic knockoffs. So it's nice to see that they up the quality a little bit with this one. The G2S has a range of 12 miles and a top speed of 23.5 as they advertise on their site. So we will definitely be testing both of those today. It should be able to climb 25% hill grades, and the ESC module is sealed and protected against water and dust. I do like on their site that they said it is resistant, not waterproof or anything like that. I hate when boards say that they're waterproof, but you guys already know that. It luckily is pretty dry here today, so I don't think I will be splashing through any puddles or anything like that. Another thing that they did upgrade from the previous version is the remote. I have not ridden the last Backfire G2. This is the G2S, so they did upgrade the controller. This is the same scrolly wheel that you'll find on a lot of other popular Chinese boards out there. So I believe that's it for an initial overview. This board obviously came with a lot of accessories, chargers, T-tools. It actually came with different bushings to put in the trucks, which is nice. Like I said, I am very impressed with the quality of this board. Looking at it up close, it does seem like it might compete closer with some of the higher end Chinese boards and maybe even compete with some of the US boards. I will really only be able to tell once we get out and ride this thing, so let's do it. All right, the board is on. It's indicated by a blue ring light around the push button here. You can't really see it because it's kind of bright out. Controller is also on. There are two different riding modes for this board. You press the bottom button on the controller and the LED lights, depending on how fast they go, will tell you what mode you're in. So I'm gonna start in the slow mode. One thing that I already like about this board is that there's a little bit of a kicktail here, just like my Boosted board, so you don't have to let the board slam onto the ground. You can kind of keep your foot on the back there, keep this thing safe. I've got my tracking app on my phone running now. Let's head over to the hill test. First time standing on the board. It's got some good flex to it. I think I could have tightened the trucks a little bit more, but it feels pretty good. And we're off. One thing that I can already note is that I do appreciate the longboard form factor to this thing. I feel like recently I've been testing a lot of short boards, and if you're going around cruising and you're not really worried about portability or anything like that, I much prefer a longer, more traditional long style board like this. I'm gonna see if I can bump it up into the fast mode while I'm moving. Don't think I can. Brakes feel pretty good though. There we go, now we're in the fast mode. All right, that was top speed mode right there, and my hands are freezing holding the controller and holding the camera. I do want to check right now what that top speed was because it didn't quite feel like 25. So my app says 20.29. I don't think I'm going to be going much faster than that today. Could be because the weather is pretty cold out here. The colder it is, the less likely the board will be able to perform to its actual capacity. But I will definitely come back and check that later. Now, it's time to see if we can actually make it up this hill. I am in the fast mode. We're just going full throttle. Yeah, seems to be doing this all right. A little bit of slowdown here, getting closer to the steep part of the top, but we made it, no problem at all. Now this next section is a lot longer and a little bit steeper as well, but judging by that first part, I think I'll be able to make it up here. We're doing it. This thing is obviously not going to make it up these hills with a lot of power like you would find with a belt-driven board, but at the same time, for hub motors, they're really silent. The board is really smooth, and just like that, we made it all the way up to the top. That's a pretty grueling hill test for a lot of the boards that I do test. Now let's see if we can cruise back down fairly slowly and recoup some of that energy that we just lost. Brakes are very strong. I'm on a pretty steep part of the hill right here, and that just pulled me almost to a complete stop. Very nice backfire. I think I'm liking this. Now all that is left to do is to keep riding this thing, test the range, see how far I can actually take it, and hopefully try to stay warm in the process. One other thing that I'm starting to notice about this board is that it feels like the center of gravity is a little bit lower compared to some of the other boards that I've been testing. So when putting in some carbs with this thing, it feels really planted to the ground. It doesn't feel like it's gonna slide out from under me at all. And it feels really good. I'm actually really liking this board right now. I just got my first controller vibration. When I check it, it looks like I got a 1.5 left. I think this cold weather is really taking a toll on the battery, so I'm gonna put the camera away for now because as you can tell by my face and my hands are kind of blue and red, it is freezing. I'm gonna drop the camera here, do my typical laps, and see how far I can get this battery to last. All right guys, back from my ride. That was a pretty cold one, and the battery might have a little bit of juice left in it, but because of the cold and the effect that it has on batteries, it was kind of slowing down to a point where I almost had to push. So I figured I would just cut it there and leave it for what it is. So taking a look at my Trax app, I still went a distance of 9.44 miles. I was riding for about an hour, and the max speed did not change since that first check-in at 20.29 miles per hour. So although this didn't meet up to all of the specs, given the conditions and my rider weight and everything like that, I think this thing still performed very, very well. To give you a rough idea of the effects that the cold has on batteries, it is about 35 degrees out here right now, and then when you're moving at about 20 miles an hour for that whole time, the wind chill, it gets even colder. Typically when I film a video like this, I can use just one battery in my camera, and I actually went through 1.5 while filming this video. So not only is it affecting my camera battery, but it affects your cell phone battery if you have this out in the cold for a long time, just like it affects the batteries on electric skateboards. So testing this in ideal conditions, I definitely think I could get closer to 12, maybe even more out of this board. But almost 10 miles in the weather that we have right now, I'm still very impressed with that. This range actually beats out what my boosted board can do right now. I have the Gen 1 boosted board. I have a lot of miles on it, probably close to 1,000. And this definitely has the upper hand because it is a lot newer, but I don't think that boosted board got anywhere close to 10 miles since I had it from when it was new. A couple things to note, like I said, the hub motors are very quiet. The board is nice and smooth. The trucks feel great. It carved very nicely. And like I said, the board feels like it has a lower center of gravity because when you're standing on here, the board does have a nice flex to it. You're riding closer to the ground when compared to some other boards that I have tested. Now the G2S is definitely a board that I'm going to hold on to, and I will probably ride this thing a little bit more. That way I can actually get a good idea of how this thing should perform when the weather kind of warms up a little bit. But so far, with all of the factors and everything that I can judge by as of right now, I definitely think that I would put this in the higher tier of budget boards, if you want to call it that. When I think of budget boards, I think of things that are sub $500, so the Meepo and the Wago come to mind. I would put this in a tier above that, so anything over $500. As of right now, this Backfire G2S is retailing for roughly $550. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some Black Friday deals and shipping deals depending on where you at. The price might fluctuate a little bit, but I would put this in the category more towards the Cool Wheel that I tested in the past. That was probably one of the more budget-friendly boards that I rode a lot. I know quality control is kind of hit or miss depending on which board you're going with and which manufacturer you choose, but from the looks of this, everything seems to be very high quality, and I believe that price point is actually justified because of that. The fit and finish on it does seem really good. I like the quality parts and components and stuff that they put into this. It doesn't seem like just another generic Chinese board. So when I'm thinking of a budget board, typically I like to think of something under the $800 mark. Anything over that, you're starting to get into the boosted and evolved territory. So for a budget board, this is definitely in my top 3 to 4. Now that I think about it, it might actually be like my #1 favorite budget board. I think I would prefer this over the Cool Wheel. I would definitely prefer this over the Wago and the Meepos that I have tested. I'm actually very impressed with this board. I think the specs were good for a rider my weight. Like I said, 175, 180 pounds. The cold temperature that it was given, it still did roughly 10 miles, and it was doing 20 miles an hour, which is about my threshold for boards this size. So Backfire, I think you guys have a really good, solid board here, and it's definitely one that I could recommend to someone looking in the $550 price range. Now, I'm not sure how many more electric skateboard videos will be coming out this year because I don't want to keep testing when it's freezing cold out here. I like to give boards a fair chance. But there will definitely be more coming sometime soon, maybe in the spring, summer. So for now, if you guys have any questions on the Backfire G2S, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I will, of course, leave a link to their site where you can see more specs, details, and pricing on this board. Now, if you are new to the channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every week, and that's going to be all for today. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.